Hey guys, it's Mr. Woger. Just kind of checking in and gonna be doing a little quick read aloud to keep you up to date on our book Wonder. As we left off, we were on page 76. So if you guys have the book at home and you want to follow along, this one is called The Bleeding Scream. And I'm just going to read, let's see how many chapters. We're going to read up to just a couple pages here, and then I'll do it'll transition into another part called Part 2 via. And then I'll put a couple links in between so you can read off of Mr. W. Reed's link and maybe put a couple videos on. And we can check in if you have any questions or if you likes or something like that. You can put it after the page. So here we go with the Bleeding Scream. Walking through the halls that morning on my way to the locker was, I have to say, absolutely awesome. Everything was different now. I was different. Where I usually walk with my head down trying to avoid being seen, today I walked with my head up, looking around. I wanted to be seen. One kid wearing the same exact costume as mine, a long white skull face oozing fake blood, high-fived me as we passed each other on the stairs. I have no idea who he was, and he had no idea who I was, and I was wondering for a second if he would have ever done that if he'd known it was me underneath the mask. I was starting to think this was going to go down as one of the most awesome days in history of my life, but then I got into the homeroom. The first costume I saw as I walked inside the door was Darth Sidious. It had one of those rubber masks that are so realistic, with a big black hood over the head and also a long black robe. I knew right away it was Julian, of course. He must have changed his costume at the last minute because he thought I was coming as Jango Fett. He was talking to two mummies who must have been Miles and Henry, and they were all kind of looking at the door like they were waiting for somebody to come through it. I knew it wasn't a bloody scream they were looking for. It was Boba Fett. I was going to go and sit at my usual desk, but for some reason, I don't know why, I found myself walking over to a desk near them, and I could hear them talking. One of the mummies was saying, "It really looks like him." "Like this part especially," answered Julian's voice. He put his fingers on his cheeks and the eyes of his Darth Sidious mask. "Actually," said the mummy, "what he really looks like is one of those shrunken heads. Have you ever seen those? He looks exactly like that." "I think he looks like an orc." "Oh, yeah? If I looked like that," said the Julian voice, kind of laughing, "I swear I would put a hood over my face every day." "I thought about this a lot," said the second mummy, sounding really serious, "and I really think if I look like him, I seriously think I would hurt myself." "You would not," answered Darth Sidious. "Yeah, for real," insisted the same mummy. "I can't imagine looking in the mirror every day and seeing myself like that. It must be too awful, and getting stared at all the time." "Then why do you hang out with him so much?" asked Darth Sidious. "I don't know," answered the mummy. "Tushman asked me to hang out with him at the beginning of the year, and he must have told all the teachers to put us next to each other in the classes or something." The mummy shrugged. I knew the shrug, of course. I knew the voice. I knew I wanted to run out of the class right then and there, but I stood where I was and listened to Jack Will finish what he was saying. "I mean, the thing is, he always follows me around. What am I supposed to do?" "Ditch him," said Julian. I don't know what Jack answered because I walked out of the class without anybody knowing I had been there. My face felt like it was on fire while I walked back down the stairs. I was sweating underneath the costume. I started crying. I couldn't keep it from happening. The tears were so thick in my eyes I could barely see, but I couldn't wipe them through the mask as I walked. I was looking for a little tiny spot to disappear into. I wanted a hole I could fall inside of, a little black hole that would eat me up. The next chapter is only 2 pages, and it's called Names. Rat Boy, Freak, Monster, Freddy Krueger, E.T., Gross Out, Lizard Face, Mutant. I know the names they call me. I've been in enough playgrounds to know kids can be mean. I know. I ended up in the 2nd floor bathroom. Nobody was there because it was first period had started already, and everybody was in class. I locked the door to the stall and took my mask off and just cried for I don't know how long. Then I went into the nurse's office and told her I had a stomach ache, which was true, because I felt like I'd been kicked in the gut. Nurse Molly called Mom and had me lie down on the sofa next to her. 15 minutes later, Mom was at the door. "Sweetness," she said, coming over to give me a hug. "Hi," I mumbled. Didn't even want her to ask anything until afterwards. "You have a stomach ache?" she asked, automatically putting her hand to my forehead to check the temperature. "He said he feels like throwing up," said Nurse Molly, looking at me with very nice eyes. And I have a headache," I whispered. "I wonder if it's something you ate," said Mom, looking worried. "There is a stomach bug going around," said Nurse Molly. "Oh, geez," said Mom, her eyebrows going up as she shook her head. She helped me to my feet. "Should I call you a taxi, or are you going to walk home? Can you walk home?" "I can walk." "What a brave kid," said Nurse Molly, patting me on the back as she walked us towards the door. If he starts throwing up or runs a temperature, you should call a doctor." "Absolutely," said Mom, shaking Nurse Molly's hand. "Thank you so much for taking care of him." "My pleasure," answered Nurse Molly, putting her hand underneath my chin and tilting my face up. "You take care of yourself, okay?" I nodded and mumbled, "Thank you." Mom and I walked the whole way home. I didn't tell her anything about what had happened, and later when she asked me if I felt well enough to go on trick-or-treating after school, I said no. This worried her, since she knew how much I usually loved trick-or-treating. I heard her say to Dad on the phone, "He doesn't even have the energy to go trick-or-treating." No fever at all. "Well, I will if he doesn't feel better by tomorrow." I know, poor thing. Imagine his missing Halloween. I got out of going to school the next day too, which was Friday. So I had the whole weekend to think about everything. I was pretty sure I would never ever go back to school again. Now the next part will take it from a different perspective of Via. That is called part 2, and we'll stop right there.